I really want to talk basically what I want to talk today about is deconstruction and how to think about loss.
You have my attention. This is certainly interesting stuff.
Right. And I mean, we know like there's a lot of screaming and yelling and we've both been through lots of these kinds of things and it's it occurs as loss to me. Do you?
Yeah,
A lot of loss.
yeah. So much loss. Like the identity is one portion of it. Um, but the yeah, I mean, all the things that appeal to you about the spiritual place you're in, like I think we only deconstruct from places that are beautiful for us for a while. Like if it wasn't interesting enough to hang out,
Right.
you would not get like wrapped up in all of it.
Yes.
Um so all the things that are appealing are the hardest things to let go of, I guess.
Yes. And our relationships getting weaved in
Yeah.
and our identity and our ritual and habitual and our
Yeah.
conscious some of our conscious connection with the divine. For some people, a lot of it. For some of us, some of it. Um, Mental models of the world. There's so much. So, okay. So the reason I want to have this conversation is because it has a few levels of things that are important to me. But I read I'm not going to say who it is right now, but I will eventually. Um, because I don't want to skew the conversation. But I read this really, really, I thought, extraordinary article about the soul journey, um, and how what these days is called deconstruction fits into the soul journey, right? It's not like it's part of the soul journey. And that's some
Mhm.
I'm talking about this all the time. I'm just like, we come to the part of our soul journey where we can't, it becomes untenable to hold on to the pictures and the ideas and the process and the structures, and God leads us on. That's how I feel about it. Spirit disrupts the old systems, and we're, off in the desert when we used to be in the city. Um, and for me, it was a whole lot of feeling kicked out, for a whole lot of like over and over, all kinds of things went south that used to go north. So there was the academic part, but before, during, and after that, it was spiritual information, social bullshit with the church people. Like it was just this constant for being thrown out. And like I was just for me, like I was just holding on with my bloody fingers. I'm like, I'm not leaving." But eventually I did because you get beat with a stick long enough.
Yes.
It's just like,
Yes.
and that's how it used to be for me a lot. It's just like, this isn't how God wants it. This is when God wouldn't want this. But like at the same time, everything in life is saying, yeah, right. And it's just like
Yes.
only after several times in the big things like this, only after I'm just like, oh, well, that leading was so strong and so clear, but I could not hear it because I thought my identity, my stories thought God wanted this, not that, as at that point in my understanding of God, or that the highest way is this, not that. And yeah. So what are you noticing?
Um, yeah, man, the leaving is so hard. And I spent a lot of time really reckoning with, like, I really thought you all loved me, and it was so easy for you to let me go. Um, and the peace that I would eventually make with that situation was to realize that once I started breaking all of the social contracts we had in that community. Like there was an expectation that that nobody would ever say out loud, but we all lived by the idea that all the happy, successful people were chosen by God to be happy and successful. Um, and if you started to admit that you weren't happy, successful, you're kind of putting a target on your back, but it's not quite as malicious as it all sounds because it's, like when I was in those circles and I was part of the happy, successful club, it was like, these are all of my people I'm safe around, and I know that God is good with everybody in this room, and it's
Mm,
pretty easy for me to tell because they're all happy and successful. Um, and so, like, if you, like, pretend that the Bible doesn't include the book of Job, um, for example, you can kind of, like, view that and start to think, "Well, that dude over there who's having trouble with mental health or whatever, um, they've gotta like, that's kind of on them to figure out what they need to do to get, like, to get r and in some ways, they were incredibly, um, compassionate toward me and patient, um, but for me, it was like leaving the act of deconstruction was this, like, two-step thing of, first, I was out of the cool kids club,
yeah.
um, and their whole approach to helping people is that, like, white supremacy missionary model
Mhm.
of, like, as soon as I was no longer in the kids club, there was a while of, like, the symbolic equivalent of driving down to Mexico so you could paint the room for the 800th time. Like, all of the like, all the mission work was like, "Let's go somewhere and paint a room or something, and that'll win souls for Jesus," and stuff. Um, but so if that's your model of how you help people, I'm no longer on the insides. It was people would swoop in from the outside to
Mhm.
and that just like um accelerated the process, I think, of
Yes.
like, wait a minute, 5 minutes ago we were like best friends and we were equals, and now the way that you're wanting to administer your help to me is this like drop off from afar model.
Right.
Um, and, so, yeah, I mean, I think I've gotten a little bit far from what your opening kind of comments were, but as we have this
Yeah.
conversation about the feelings of loss with it, and I guess actually the end of I think what I want to say is the other part of my making peace with the big feelings of rejection and feeling being able to sort of forgive a lot of that stuff was the recognition, like, I spent a lot of years thinking about how completely othered I was and how much projection was going on. And yeah, like that was all like that was a valid observation. They were othering me. There was all kinds of projection going on. But meanwhile, I'm kind of doing the same thing to them. And I had
Mm,
to recognize all the othering I was doing of,
mhm.
they're like it's funny because their worst fear is that I figured it out and they've got it all wrong. And that's why it's really hard to have a conversation with me because, like, the cost of me saying things that are persuasive is really high to them. But it's
Mm,
just as true, and it's easy for me to see that that they couldn't engage me as a human being once I started to spout those opinions they would find as dangerous. They had to see me as something that wasn't a part of their club anymore. But for the first bunch of years, I was just as afraid that they were totally right. That I was like, all the stories they told about me, I'm on that slippery slope to hell and all of that kind of stuff. I'm fitting exactly the story. They set up that story in advance. So once you start to question and stuff, they've already got a
yes.
narrative about
Yes.
what's gonna happen, um, In order for me to feel okay about the journey I was making out of that place that had once felt so safe, I had to really, like, dehumanize them in essentially the same way that they had dehumanized me. Um, all these years later, I am not quite so hard on that community, I guess.
Yeah. Still energy there, right? There's still energy there.
Yes. Yeah.
And yeah, and it's been a while. Well, really a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So clearly loss, right?
Mhm.
Clearly loss. And I want to, I'll just point it out. There's two kinds from my perspective. There's two kinds of loss going on. The first is objective, scientifically verifiable change, loss,
Yes.
relationships, beliefs, community, um, what is it, worldview, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Objective, like you can measure it. And it's, for almost everyone going through what's these days called deconstruction, this is happening in some form. There's some people that remain really academic, but I still think that that's fast or slow shifting everything else. And okay, so yeah, that makes sense. I'm
Yeah,
checking with the
totally with you.
philosophy professor.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, absolutely.
the other kind of that we would same word we use with a different meaning is our natural human reaction, our feelings. There's tremendous loss, grief, all kinds of pain and brokenness that happens. And on top of it, some of the things you point to, like fear, shame, right? Like there's a lot of emotions going on, unhappy, uncomfortable emotions going on. Um, groundlessness,
Yeah.
unmooredness. So there's emotions. So there's the objective shift, and then there's the human response that I'm calling emotions. And there's also other stuff in there. There's like when we used to believe belong in community, we don't. It goes below emotion. When we used to like people used to like us and now they seem to not like us. Stuff like that, that's even deeper. It's we talk a lot these days about our what's it called? Our neurology, our that
Mhm.
there's a lot of talk about that. Like
Yeah.
it affects deeper than emotions. Um our body, natural body responses. Because, the fact is that for something like millennia, humans lived in tribes and our survival depended on it. And so when we don't belong, when what we thought was safe is not safe, when what we felt was secure is not secure, that's a body level response. It's deeper than emotion. Um, it's default. And, that leads to talk about trauma.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so there's a lot going on there. So I mean, loss is the least of it. If we want to put it under that category, which I am for a reason in this conversation. Um, and I want to put this aside and say there's this other concept that I like to talk about called suffering. Um, and I mean, you can define it differently, but in this context, I define it as it's not something that we have to have. Right? We have pain, we have shame, we have fear, we have survival, we have all these things we're talking about. We can have that without the suffering. Suffering is extra. Suffering is a story about it that makes it worse. It shouldn't be happening. I'm a bad person. They hate me because like all this, we just keep adding suffering in our story. but the default human reactions are just human reactions, and that's not the suffering. That some of it is compounded by the stories, right? But some of it is just like when you seem to love me and now you seem to hate me. That's that affects our system. And then the stories I make up about that are the added suffering. So, and yeah, we get attached. Yeah, because we're humans. And yeah, we can practice not being attached, but still, it takes enormous amount of practice and farther along on our soul journey for most of us to be just like, ah, my wife died. Okay,
Yeah.
what am I gonna have for breakfast? Oh, my dog died. Some people aren't attached to their companion animals, and some of us are. Um, I had somebody I just recently met. They heard me like grieving, talking about the grief of my dog, and I heard them say, "Is she talking about a dog?" Like, it's just like
Ooh,
because it was like for that person, it was like I was having the grief of a person, which I was. Um, so like everybody's different on that, but some of us, like, my dog dies, it's gonna affect my day, week, month, year. So yes, and some of that is suffering, a lot of it's attachment. But is it so there's nothing wrong, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And then some people can be like, all right, I adore my dog and my dog is gone and they're in a different place where things are held more loosely. And that's fine too. So anyway, off in the weeds. Here we go. Um, so back to the point of why I was saying all this. So there's this extraordinary article about the soul journey and how it fits deconstruction in that journey, which is it. I find it extraordinary because that's the world I live in. Right? That's what I teach through, but it's a really well-written article by someone who's very, educated and thoughtful, and I was like, "Dude, this is wonderful to have in the world." Truly masterful, and useful as essay, except except this whole thing about loss, and that's why I wanna talk about it because the person some of it is maybe, being uncareful about distinguishing language, but seems to be really pointing to that we can stop the suffering and it's not loss. Because in this great context, it's positive. That's what I hear in the art essay. And that's what I want to talk to because I feel like it's myopic. I feel like it's not recognizing, yes, yes, we can deal with the suffering and the attachment and and what's not necessary in the equation. But I feel like no matter what happens in what we call these days deconstruction, our identity is shifting and our relationship with heaven and earth and with the church and the Bible and the doctrines and the church people and it's all shifting. And that's hard
yeah.
for humans unless you're very advanced. And it's easy to say, "Oh, if you just understand this flow, that you're on this wonderful
Yes.
bridge to playground, everything you're not having loss." And that's absurd to me, and it's undermining of people's experience for me. So what do you notice?
Yeah, it kind of pissed me off actually to not at you, but at whoever did like it was I don't know, maybe even almost triggering, partially because it seems awfully close and like everybody is we're all coming out of a different world and coming into a different new world. So I don't want to assume that my experience as somebody who was in the evangelical church and then came out, like that's not the only way a person can deconstruct. Um, but I have a instinct that there's probably some commonalities regardless of whether it's a conservative, literalistic Muslim or a conservative, literalistic Buddhist or,
Yeah,
or a conservative, literalistic Christian. I have a sense they're all the same. There's similarities across
I
all
bet.
those different places. And the idea of you can turn off your suffering by just rationally understanding, like, that was part of the poison of the
Yes,
of where I was before.
I think
Um,
so.
so I might go so far as to say that person has not deconstructed quite far enough from where I'm sitting to be as compassionate as they probably should be with the people that have been victimized by all of this stuff.
Certainly has a slightly different take. This person is pretty strong male, uh, person. So that might have something to do with it, more
Yeah.
intellectual and less emotionally tuned in. Um, Also started deconstruction quite a long time ago. Um, so might have worked through so much of it that it's easy to forget how raw it was.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. So anyway, I really want to stay off of him and on to like, because it's getting me to what I want to talk about, right? Which is really supporting and validating the people that are having this experience and helping understand in ways that are validating and inspiring and also validating the experience of the body and the experience of the body and community and the experience of the identity of it's fucking hard. Um and from my perspective. And I want to stand up to the idea that it's okay. So some people don't have it hard for whatever reason. That's great, right? But other people have it really hard for whatever reason and really emotional for whatever reason and really nervous system disruptive. And it could be that they had a disrupted nervous system to begin with, or what do
Yeah.
they call it? Not balanced or whatever, right? Like, it's like the point is, it's how it occurred to me. I love the article, and I watched the thing about loss ripple through it while I was loving it because I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so great to see this out into the world because this context makes such a difference for people. I just want to say that I'm on the side of the article, but I did see this rippling through it and then felt like near the end, this argument that it's not loss. And I'm just like, that's not healthy. I don't think
Yeah.
it's undermining for someone who's puts themselves as an authority in the deconstruction space to be saying that. I feel like for me there was something missing in the conversation in that part of it. And that's what I wanna talk to, and I think this is not just about the deconstruction conversation, but the whole spiritual soul journey
Yeah.
conversation. There's this is, um, not honored, and I'll go big about it, and then I'll see what you wanna say. I'll go big about it, and this I have also a constant complaint about the it's just like people just go to, "Well, I'm God, I'm spirit, I'm over all this human stuff. I'm just over it." And it's just like, it's very nice that you wanna think that, and that you're saying it like you're saying it and being how you're being, talking like you're talking. Clearly, I'm sorry, but clearly you're not there. And so you're just in another delusion, invalidating the body, trying to leave the body behind. What do we call it? Spiritual bypassing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that about any particular person. I'm just saying the general trend is like, I had an NDE. I had a vision. I had an insight. I had a, I finally understood the scripture says this, not that. Like I had some little light bulb happen and now I'm in the promised land. I mean, you've heard me talk about this a dozen times, right? But I find it offensive. I find it undermining for the rest of the people because the rest of the people are having insights and then needing to integrate them into body, mind, soul, spirit, relationship, life, world, work, play. Like that's what it takes to bring heaven to earth. That's what helps to, um, it's not just a thought, it's that thought resonates through everything. Then, right, I'm love while acting like an asshole. It's like, that's nice. It's a nice thought. Right? I am love resonating. I mean, we can see we're blessed enough to see in the world some amazing spiritual Dalai Lama, right? He's like joy. He's like bliss. He's like beauty, right? His friend dies, he cries. Um, he comes to the town and the town's resonance changes. I mean, that man's got something going on, right? Like he is embodying it. Is he perfect? No, he hasn't graduated yet. Not perfect, but so we're blessed to see that. Thich Nhat Hanh, he graduated recently, and I mean the vibe from him. Even the Qigong guy that I like. I mean, I put him on the video, and I'm just like, "Oof,"
Yeah.
right? It's like that is real from spirit to soul to body to life to world over the internet to me. Um, Just saying words is of little consequence. So anyway, that this is the whole conversation. It's a dissing of the body and it's a willingness to leave the body behind when, I'll Christian us and say, because I am talking about Christian deconstruction, we're the temple of the Holy Spirit. So how do we care for that temple and how do we heal, transform that temple to be lighter and more transparent and more spacious with the light in and the light coming through into the world because we are the light of the world, according to Jesus. So that's the question. And that's a soul body question. I just saw this with somebody I was reading yesterday. I'm just like, dude, it's not like you can bring up all the light. You can, people you could be just like, oh God, kind of like what's his name? Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It's just like, enough with the light, you know? You could bring in so much light to annoy people. That's not the issue. The issue is what's between you, me, everyone. What's between me, in this case, her. What's between her and really allowing so much light in? It's not the spiritual stuff. It's the body stuff. Um, and that's why this is so important to me. Because I don't like it when people invalidate the body experience because it makes the body trust us less, makes the temple less transparent, less enrolled in the game, wanting to push back. That's what I believe. What are you noticing?
Um, it's funny we have this conversation now. I attend a mainline, quite progressive, church, And there's a lot of things that I think that we're doing really right as a church. And there's sometimes I'm like, come on, guys, are we really still there? But the thing I was reflecting on this morning is we were sitting in the pews. It's a very traditionally constructed church. I think it's like over 100 years old. The building is and things. And I was noticing how all we were was head and shoulders, the congregation. Um, and I thought it's kind of interesting in that, like, we're disembodied kind of way. And then in walked the choir and the pastors, and they were all in robes. And I thought, this is really fascinating how every single person in this room has had the contours of their body erased
Mm.
um, by virtue of the places we're sitting or the clothes, the robes they're having us put on and things. Um,
Yes.
and um, I think one of the things that has been really beneficial for me um, as I've been doing this work with you is to start to value the body as like a data stream
Mm.
of the things, it's like one more source for decision making if I let it be. Um, but
Mhm.
nobody can co-opt and steal that. So it's a very hard to manipulate data stream. On the other
Mm.
hand, if somebody tells me that the only valid data stream is logic, and then they go on to explain to me how to do logic and what logic is, and these are all the logical thoughts, it's much easier to keep me under thumb in that universe where the church is has taken away my bodily knowledge as a way to make decisions and know things about where I am.
Yeah. I'm There's a whole nother conversation right here about actually discounting spirit,
Yeah.
right? Let's just have intellectual beliefs and
Yeah.
physical rituals, and it's so controllable by humans. Spirit is
Yeah.
completely not controllable by
Yeah.
humans. The wind blows where it will, and there's no healthy way to get our control authority in between people and spirit. So it's been backbenched. It's
Yeah.
been it's been put in like, well, you can read the Bible and spirit can help you read the Bible. That's what I see a lot about because I'm watching that because, I'm big on spirit. Um, yeah, so control. You have to watch humans every fucking minute, right? Authority, control,
Yes.
every period, full stop, always. Um, and so I I also like how you're like, "Oh, so that's the mind, basically." And you're saying you can't control the body. And that's true, right? The people, like the emotions are just gonna get bigger. They're gonna get boxed, which makes them go unhealthy. Um, yeah, you can't control the body, but we try very hard to do so. Right? It's like that conversation between eh, the the fruit of the spirit is translated the keystone fruit of the spirit is translated self-control, and sometimes that T word for not drinking alcohol, um,
Temperance?
yeah, temperance, which is makes me nuts, I have to say, because the keystone fruit of the spirit, when I look at what it means at the original languages, I see mastery from within. Mastery from within is very different for me from self control and very, very different from temperance. That's all outer directed.
Yeah. And I think the idea of mastery from within is terrifying to the institutional church. The
It
idea
should
that there
be.
would be that very possibility of, yeah, as it should be. It's a real threat to their power and their dominion.
Period, full stop. And another thing, which we didn't get to, and who knows if we will, is that other word that's like humility. What's that other word that's like humility? Um,
Hmm.
Meekness
Yeah.
in my head. It's like, that's how it's been put in. That's not really what it is, but it's been put there. Humility's like the dirt. It's like, let's stay with the reality. And meekness is not what we were told it is. Again, another manipulation right there. Meekness is like a lion that's trained, it's like focused. It's like, it's not what we thought it was. Right. So these very subtle things can make such a difference. Just like the translation of hell. Very subtle things can just really fuck us up. So anyway, I don't want to go all up into that, but what are you noticing?
Um, yeah, I don't think I have anything to add to that
Okay. So
section.
should, so far we're still at the introduction to what I want to
Yeah, yeah,
talk
keep
about.
going, keep
We're so funny. We
yeah.
just go on and on.
My only quick
Um,
question is, at what point do I get to know who wrote the article? I'm really curious about that, but if there's more to be said on that, then, I'll uh manage my curiosity.
okay, it's Jim Palmer.
Okay. I can absolutely see that and I'm a fan of his work, but
I'm a fan of his work.
yeah, I can absolutely see that from him.
He did an extraordinary job with this essay,
Yeah.
and I think he's a little off on this.
Yeah.
So we're talking about it. Um, and I understand what he's meaning. I think I understand what he's meaning to do, but there's a non-focus on what I think is important in
Yeah.
the conversation we're having today. So, yeah. And he's made such a difference for so many. I mean, he's like one of the biggest
Yeah.
names in deconstruction. He's like literally branded on it. So, um, okay. So, but I want to talk about this loss thing. And so first I just want to say from my perspective, and I think this is a rational perspective, but people seem to have other perspectives. Some people are like, "Oh, somebody important to me died and it's a big surprise." "Oh, my life is changing like crazy and it's a big surprise." Like I live in a world in which loss, change is like the default. The waves just keep coming. And every now and then there's a tsunami, and that's just the world I live in. Um, so loss for me is baked in to the game we play here on the earth. Like it's just part of the fabric. We're born and our bodies come out of the mom, go back to the earth, repeat. That's like how it's set up. And I'm not saying that system could never be shifted or never changed or never seen differently. I'm saying that's what the default is. That's the assumption. And if you happen to be uh, one of the few people they talk about whose bodies don't go to the earth, well, maybe. But anyway, so in the big picture and in every moment, loss is part of the game because change is part of the game. And it's all about change. Life is just always change. And sometimes we hold it back. And I see that that's really unfortunate because then we don't die daily. We don't die daily. And then things build up and then we have these big month, year, decade, lifetime shifts that absolutely take the ground out from under us. Just like in the earthquake, the earth is moving like this, but it won't move. It's stuck. So it's pulling and pushing and pulling and pushing until and then everybody's life goes like this. And so We can pretend it's not happening. We can resist it as best we can, but it's still happening. The continents are moving at like as fast as my fingernails grow, and that's just happening. It's wild, isn't it? And they didn't
It is
even know that
crazy.
like 100 years ago or something. It's
Wow.
crazy like that. Wild, wild, wild. Um, okay. So that's how I see it. Nobody has to see it that way, but that's how I see it. And so we're always learning and we're always growing and we're always changing and we're always healing and we're always transforming, and it behooves us to do as Jesus showed us and to be dying and resurrecting and dying and reborn and born again. Hmm. Born again as not believing four spiritual laws. Again, right? Like, let's just believe four things and then all this magic shit happens. It's
Yeah.
kind of crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, like, my
Um,
favorite implication of that whole way of living is, like, we're starting with the idea God is at least wicked smart, as we say here in the Northeast, probably supernaturally so. But somehow he didn't think to boil it all down to the 4 laws that you figured out, and somehow you and all of your humanity has figured out how God should have distilled all of this stuff down is part of the humor for me in that whole
yeah,
arrangement.
yeah. It's the same thing with the Trinity. It's
Yeah,
like, I'm not saying it's not a good metaphor. It's an awesome metaphor. It's a really, 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 really good metaphor. But then people want to concretize it. So anyway, there's no end to this practice. We're always in change. How do we dance it? This is the question. And it's a huge thing that the practice that we share. How do we dance change? How it's huge in the practice. It's in almost every part of every tool is how to dance change. And that's amazing. And I really appreciate that because it gives me an edge.
yeah,
It gives me like I can't avoid it and or hide from it, and I can't, but I can be doing it all the time and stay upon it and like try not to lie to myself. And then I get more resilient. I get more robust at just, oh yeah, gotta brush my teeth because my teeth and my gums need it, just like that. Um, and go to the gym because my muscles need it, my endurance, my flexibility, strength. It needs it not just physically, but within, so that I can just dance change. And when I don't, the picture I have, the feel in my body when I resist is train cars start hitting. Right? It's just like I won't be with what is. And then the train cars stop hitting. Everything people hear this like almost every time we meditate, almost every time I teach, right? It's just like the bottom line is that everything we and everyone we love is passing away from this earth. So how do we get in alignment with that? How do we line up so our life how do we line up so that like Castaneda's Don Juan, he's like, well, I have death on my left shoulder and it's like the best thing ever. How do we do that? Because
yeah,
the truth is, my experience in this getting pretty old body, about to be 61. I know that seems old to some people and not old to others, but to me, it seems pretty old. And I'm like, oh man, death is three turns away, no matter how you slice it. And it makes life so much more rich to really know that.
yeah,
So, so what we're doing is we're avoiding death and loss and all the things over time that happened, we're avoiding them, but I actually help us to have a better life if we embrace them.
Yeah.
So in that context, I know loss fucking shitty sucks. I know this, right? Everybody knows this. I feel like everybody, how can you not know this? But if we embrace it, like it somehow saying it's not loss says that there's something wrong with loss. It's not an essential part of the game. That's crazy to me. All right, I'm being quiet. What do you want to say?
Um, so I guess I'm thinking about how at least I and probably everybody has a limit to how much truth I'm ready for at this very moment in
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah.
existence. And I can admit that the universe has a certain amount of like change inherent to it, kind of proportional to my ability to imagine how much I can withstand that change. Like at those times, I have not felt confident in myself at all. I've had to really convince myself that the universe is not the sort of place that will just randomly blow up in my face. Um,
Mm,
because the idea of living in a very changing universe, if I'm not capable of like taking care of myself, or if there's not some force taking care of me, then it's like the universe, it's like logical to be very fear filled about the universe and stuff. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I guess I guess I'm thinking about the power of loss and the Ram Dass said it really good. Here's another 70s picture. I'll see your Carlos Castaneda and raise you one Ram Dass. Um,
love,
Ra
love Ramadas.
yeah, me too. Me too. Ram Dass had this whole thing about how close can you get to the fire? Um, and the fire is pain and discomfort and all that kind of stuff. And if you get too close to the fire, all that happens is you get I don't know if he was thinking about marshmallows, but there's a very narrow ideal place for a marshmallow to be, and that's
When making
just
s'mores.
yeah, nice. Yeah. Yeah, cosmic s'mores. So um I'm too close if I'm not believing in my ability to withstand the changes that are coming, I'm too close to the fire. I'm a marshmallow that's going to get all crispy and stuff. Um but if I'm not ever experiencing any loss or struggling, I'm not going to get all nice and warm and tan. I'm too far away from the fire. Um
Mhm.
so yeah, I guess that was what was coming up for me as you were
Yeah,
sharing.
yeah. And I don't say what I said to the very first class and the very first time people usually people take a meditation, right? And they can happily ignore me. People ignore me all the time. Um, but but yeah, if we keep ringing the bell, then it can become real that much
Yeah.
more, as opposed to like our common culture is just, we're sitting here with our ears closed and our eyes covered and are going
Yeah.
la 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 la. I mean, I've seen it recently. I saw someone lose someone, their partner, and it was shocking for that person. It was clearly shocking. And they're old.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I can't even get my head there. Like, I don't know. I can't. It's a willful ignorance of life. Like, no, some people live to 120. Good.
Right.
Some people live till 2 years old. It's just like that's just how it is. So I don't know. We don't need to keep going on it. But anyway, life is the lost period. Full stop.
Yeah.
no matter how you slice it, even if it's 120, even it's like, in the red Mars, green Mars series, like they started to live to 200 or some shit. Right, like, and it's just like, still, there's an end.
Right.
And oh my gosh, in my 20s, my favorite author was George Herbert. Um, uh, and pretty much everything he wrote is about God, as far as I'm concerned, even though he's an atheist, dead. But
Oh, the Dune guy? Frank Herbert?
Frank Herbert, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote a lot, and,
Yes.
that wasn't Dune. Um, and, he played all around concepts about God and living forever and, like, all the different aspects that people think of as God aspects. Um, anyway, that's aside, whatever. Pretty interesting. But
Yeah.
but his theory and many people's theories, and what I was just talking about before is the closer I get to death, obviously to death, because every day, it's every breath I'm close to death. But when I get would be like, the time that I have reasonably left keeps getting smaller, and the more it happens, the more I savor it.
Yes.
And his one of the things he kept playing with was, if you become if you start to not die, you start to not live. I mean, so it's this incredible gift, and that means loss, our a loss of our own time here, but everyone else and everything else. Because eventually the Earth is falling into the sun, and the sun's exploding,
Yeah.
and, like, right? And I really love the Earth, and so anyway, I'm down a hole, but anyway, anything to say before I go on?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So, another aspect around this is that we live in this what's we talk about duality, and there's I want to disambiguate this too. Duality. Duality is, from my perspective, there's the consciousness of duality, in which we notice like everything is this and that, and we're not noticing, we're not centering on the oneness that is all things. We're centering on the two-ness and feeling like we have to pick. Um, and one is good and one is not, or whatever. So that's duality. And then also duality is the way it is. There's birth and there's death.
Mm.
It's just the way it is. There's morning and evening. There's hello and goodbye. Right? Like this is the world we live in. And it's all in the oneness from my perspective, but it's two. Um, the Tao Te Ching says there was one, then two, then three, then the 10,000 things. But I like to focus on, there's two, there's up and down and left and right. And like, it's just like east and west and ri- it's, it's everywhere. And so I see things in terms of every, I do that. You've probably heard this talk that I'm getting to, because I do it around, creating Destroying Roses, but it's baked into a whole lot of the stuff that we do. But, like, the whole point with creating Joy Roses is saying hello and saying goodbye.
Mm.
Everything is two sides of a coin in this reality, in this physical reality. Every gain is a loss and every loss is a gain. Have you heard me talk about this? You might remember a
Yes.
few years ago you were listening to that thing. So, I get a new car, I let go of the old car, or I have 2 cars. Right? It's just like I let go, I let in. I have a new job, I let go of the old job, or I have 2 jobs. I have a new lover, I let go of the old lover, I have 2 lovers, right? Like, these are the choices, but it's, like, always a two-sided coin, and, hopefully, all this is receiving wonderful gain, you know? Hopefully we like our new car or our new job or our new lover. So hopefully there's good things we like, but then there's also letting go of the things we might not have liked them. Yeah, I was thinking about this morning. I'm just like, it's kind of like divorce that you choose. I've been through a divorce that people choose with them, friends, and it's still fucking loss. It's so much
Yeah.
loss of the hopes and the dreams, of the way of life, of the even of the fighting and the bullshit, right? It's like loss. And that's what so it's gain. Praise God. Not married to that person anymore. Oh man, I loved when he made pancakes. Like whatever. There's loss. And this is my main point of the whole thing. The main thread here is that it's a necessary part of every step. Every step I put my right foot down and lift my left foot up. Um, so so I already said, like, there's 2 things happening. There's the physical change, and then there's the human response. Both can be called loss, and they're always happening. And like I said before too, like, I just so appreciate it's right in my face. Like, I do my practice all the time, and it's in my face all the time. I'm letting go and letting in. I'm, um I'm saying goodbye and saying hello all the time. And that has me kind of dance with the rhythm of life. So, anything to say about that?
Um, the I like the idea the way of expressing dualism or duality as having those 2 different aspects. I like the juxtaposition because the thing it really highlights is, like, one kind of problem is if I say, um, "This thing is all good and that thing is all bad." Uh if I'm looking at the duality and insisting that it has to be one thing and not the other thing, if I recognize that there has to be an up and a down, it becomes kind of absurd to say I like up better than down. I like left better than I like right. Um, and the thing I was thinking about the way I heard you critiquing the essay earlier is it seems like you could say you've discovered something new and wonderful, and you can be thankful for where you are in your deconstruction. But you can also, at that same time, hold the fact that it was a miserable fucking time and it hurt like hell to have experienced it. And it doesn't seem like you have to downgrade the intensity of your emotions in order to, like, affirm the importance of where you landed.
Yes. Yes. And I think that's the non-theoretical, actual human experience. You know, you
Yeah,
think about a woman being pregnant, right? It's like, oh my God, life is, oh, and the kicking and the, it's bullshit. Oh my fucking God, right? Like
yeah,
being pregnant is bullshit. It's also a miracle. This is life,
yes,
right? It's not all wonderful. It just isn't. It's a lot of really bad things, really uncomfortable things.
yeah,
And it's it's the whole reason we're all here, and it's extraordinary and miraculous and beautiful, and both, carrying and birthing are all crazy, amazing, and crazy doing it.
yeah,
And that's life. Like holding the opposites. In our work, you haven't focused on this so much yet, but we de-energize not just mental image pictures. We de-energize the dichotomies so that we can be with this and be with that, be with left, be with right, have whatever it is, be able to balance them. Um, it's huge, right? Is having a baby wonderful or is it terrible? I would say
Yes.
both.
Yeah.
Right? And, like, being able to become neutral about it all because it's everything. And then we go to Jung, we go to him because he's like, "Okay, this is hard, that's a hard," because it fucking is. This is hard, that's hard. Can you stay with it until the third takes shape, till something unexpected
Mm.
comes out? Um, this is not theoretical, right? This is really important. Like loss, gain, right? Who are we to say? I read a whole poem about this once, or a book, or it wasn't a book, but a chapter or a poem. It was basically saying, who am I to say that this is good or bad? Because then this other thing happens. Who am I to say this is good or bad?
Yeah.
Right? I don't fucking know what gain and what is loss. I
Yeah.
don't know. That's a story.
There's a Buddhist, fable or a Hindu fable maybe about a man who I think it starts with a horse comes into his yard, and every couple sentences it changes, like,
Yes.
um the horse broke his leg and it seems
Yeah.
so terrible, but because the horse broke its leg, such and such a thing didn't happen. And by the end, like his child had broken his leg, but then the child didn't have to get conscripted to go off to war. It like yeah,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, who are we to say? We don't fucking know.
yeah,
We just don't know, but we have preferences, and that's fine, that's what humans do, right? But can we hold them lightly and see what we see and not and know that we don't see everything, and here's we get back to trust that you were talking about. Is the universe friendly? That Einstein
yeah,
he's I checked this once, I think. He really did say, like, that's the most important question in the universe, is the universe friendly? It sure fucking is.
yeah,
Because if it is, then change happens and things I like and things I don't like, but I can rest instead of fighting everything that is and everything that's not and everything I want and everything, right? Instead of fighting and controlling and hyper vigilanting and never resting. I mean, these are the options.
yeah, yeah.
And
I w-
I'm not saying, somebody throws me in outer space, I'm just gonna be dead. I'm not
yeah,
saying that, right? That's a physical answer. I'm talking about the energetic spiritual answer. Same thing with nature, right? Throw me in nature, I'm dead in a day or three. I'm dead, right? And I've been in nature a lot, but like, I don't know what to eat, you know?
yeah,
So, but, and there's lions and tigers and bears, but I, at the same time, nature is my friend, right? I'm very clear on that, right? And yeah, they might eat me, but it's not personal. They're not out to get me. They're not evil, right? It's just how it is. Some, well, where I am, nobody's gonna eat me, but fucking ants will eat me. But every 3 steps anywhere direction around here in Florida, ants are everywhere. Um, yeah, the ants tomorrow I'll be gone because the ants will eat me. I mean, no sleep. Anyway, it's a very important distinction. Go ahead.
I'm sort of at a plateau or have a struggle in this area, and I wonder if you've got any guidance for this. I my challenge is I feel like the more I sit with who am I to say, the more I can't make any fucking decisions in my life. Um, like the more I sit with the reality that like if your kids go through struggles, your kids suffered, and if they don't go through struggles, they're little spoiled monsters. So, like, it's like you can run that kind of dilemma about almost everything.
Yes,
If it goes this way, it's this, that, but it's would you be just as bad as going that way with that. So,
yes.
where do you get your like activation and your motivation to be decisive about things in a universe that can be so ambiguous?
I love this. Yeah, I don't believe, people talk about making lists and this and that's and decide and stuff. We're just so, in our culture, we're so run by the intellect, we don't even realize how much, right? We are the intellect for a lot of us. I think, therefore, I am. Thinking we're rich. It's out of control from my perspective. I mean, rationality is awesome. I love it. And advanced soul development builds on a highly developed intellect. But there's something beyond the intellect. There's wisdom beyond the intellect, and that's where I play, and that's what the point of the work that we do is to, can we tune in? You can call it energy, spirit. You can even call it, be totally materialistic and be just like subconscious. Subconscious knows so much that we don't know. So whatever you're thinking it is, we can go into the body and we can go into the soul and get information that is way beyond, um, regardless of what we call it. We could call it God. We could call it nature. We could call it universe. On and on, right? We can get information that supersedes all of this, and that, and all of this unknown. And that sounds crazy, but like that's the practice. That's the practice, to look beneath, to look above, to look deeper, farther, to perceive what's going on below, and to be just like, okay, what is in the best and highest good of all? And see it, know it, hear it, touch it, taste it, smell it. So that's the practice. And I tell you, it makes my life so much better. And even Michael in my life, and he's like Mr. like science. I love science too, but he hasn't come into he is he is a mystic, but he doesn't like to own it. Um, but so it's like we get, this hasn't happened, in a while, but we get to this, we're out there, we don't have a map, we're out in the national forest wilderness. Well, what I want is a moving stream that I can get in, that I can hear, that I can enjoy, and off the road, not a lot of people. Just leave me alone. That's what I want. Get to the get to the turn point, left or right. Look left. Look, then right. Look, right. It never failed us. We always ended up, now there's a lot of streams out there and there's a lot of stuff out there, right? So, but we didn't have to sit there for an hour picking our nose wondering what to do, right? It's just like, I see left. Okay, let's go left. Um, it's a fun way to practice because it doesn't matter. It's all
Yeah.
wilderness beauty. And like, the worst that could happen, there's been times when I'm not, even paying attention or whatever, we're not looking, and then you have to back down the road, and it's a little messy. Oh, well. Who cares? Right? So, and that's how, like, a lot of life is, but to have some other place to look besides the intellect, and besides how it's always been done and what our parents say or whatever, something out of the box is really nice to have. And I'll add on that and say, because we're talking about soul reading, we're talking about spiritual reading, seers and stuff, prophetic stuff. And a distinction that I have that I think is really important is that goes beyond that. because I'm called as a healer, and seeing is just, soul perception is just how I get there and what I do there. But it's just so important, and I'm sure you've heard me talk about this, that it's not just have I heard if you have you heard me talk about my friend who was just like, "Well, can I have this truck?"
I don't think so.
Okay, I'll real quick say, because I love this story. So he'd had trouble. He bought it. Carpenter. He bought a truck before. He couldn't afford it. It decimated his everything. He eventually lost it, but his economics were a mess. And then for a long time, he had this like little shit truck, this little shit truck, which he could afford. And then he comes one day and says, "Can I get this truck now?" And I look. I'm like, "No, but." If you shift this and shift that and let go about this and shift that, you're so close. And then you can have the truck. That's healing reading.
Mm.
That's what I do. That's what I care about. No, you can't have the truck. Go home. Right? Like, yes, you can have the truck after you turn around 3 times, say 3 Hail Marys. I'm like, it's not that. But, like, shift a few more things. You're almost there. Then you can have the truck. And together we work on these things. Do, 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 do. He gets the truck. That was 10 years ago. Everything's fine, right? It might have been fine anyway. Maybe not. But he could be solid and be just like, all right, I've done what I can do to make a responsible choice, which I did not do the first time. And it was hell the first time. This time, no hell. So that's that's what I'm interested in. And that's not just with healing the things that have been broken in the past, but it's the same thing for growing into who we who we are and want to be in the future. It's the same process. We're here now. We notice what is. We see what's possible. We see what's in the way. We move what's in the way, and then can move forward. That's how it's done. So, is this news to you?
Well, it's really funny because 20 minutes ago, I was talking about the body as an information stream. And I was just kind of, as you were talking, I was trying to dissect of like, why was I, because it seems obvious in retrospect that if I've gone so far as to acknowledge the stuff that I was talking about before, that I might have figured out some of the stuff that you have provided as an answer. And it's kind of silly because I think that I'm quite aware of the idea that my body can give me a little update about how I'm doing in a way that my intellect won't.
Mhm.
But it's a step that I'm still working toward to check in with my body about what I should do in this situation or that situation. So I don't think I've quite internalized the idea of like in this moment while I'm trying to figure out what to do about this thing I'm working on in my life, I haven't made the mental step of, well, what am I receiving from my body or even energetically um, for it?
Mhm.
So more like reading than healing, I suppose, on some kind of way.
Mhm.
Um, so that's a really interesting information. Like I hadn't grokked it all the interrelations in a way that I was ready to answer that, but I get it now that you say it that way.
Mhm. Yeah, and a tool that you have that I use all the time and you have and is the 2 Rose healing method, which I'm, like, constantly using, right? For individuation, for,
Yeah.
I vow, for getting out of competition, on and on and on and on. Also for co-healing. Um, but ultimately, it's a reading tool. What is it when I put me next to them or whatever, if I put me next to them, what happens? Okay, when I heal all that, when I'm next to them, what happens? Okay. And then What do I want to happen? Okay, so let me ask about these changes and those changes. What happens? It's a reading tool. Left or right, you could use it for left or right.
Yeah, I
Um,
get that.
I'm just telling you a tool that you know that you can
Yeah.
use.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Um,
I appreciate that.
because you're already doing it. So yeah, I just want to make one distinction is I believe that we get tremendous body information from ourselves and others and also from the earth. And that's everything's one, right? Fine, everything's one, but there's a physical focus for the body information and other bodies information and stuff. And that's great. And I can get that information. And then I believe that also everything is one, but also I can get a more spiritual perspective, a more transcendent, divine perspective. Um, that's what I believe. But for those who don't believe that or have a different pictures, the subconscious is extraordinary. And some say, well, that's where you get it all, Wendy. It's just like, okay, fine. I don't fucking care. Right? Like this works. I'm happy.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and I mean it really works. I'm like in freaking bliss and shit. Like it works. So like if I'm all wrong and there is no spirit and there is no right, like I don't know, I'm agnostic. I'm intellectually agnostic. It's like who knows? Right? But I'm playing this game that I'm enjoying. That's the whole thing. And make my life work. And so if it's just me asking my subconscious or maybe yours, I fucking care, right? Like, say whatever you want about it. The point is that it works for me, and it works for a whole lot of other people, and maybe for everyone. That's the promise. That's what it said. Everyone, are we all? I mean, whatever paradigm you come from, are we all children of God? Did God get laryngitis 2,000 years ago? Did God only talk? I mean, throughout you see the Hebrew Bible, it's just like a lot of the stuff in there is God talking to people and people doing stuff that God talked to. And dreams and visions. I mean, you take out the dreams and the visions and the talking to God and doing what God said, there's almost nothing, there's like law left.
yeah,
There's like
yeah,
nothing.
yeah,
And some really horrible violence. Um, so humans. I just am disambiguating that I don't intellectually know, but I am also a mystic. I've been having visions since before I'm a teenager, and I see stuff, and it seems to make a difference for a lot of people. And it might be true, but I think it's really important. Here's the reason I'm having this conversation, even if it's just the subconscious, even if it's I find it's very important to see what does the spiritual perspective say and what does the physical perspective say.
mm,
What do the emotions say? What does the intellect say? What does the instinctual body say? What does the nervous system say? What is it? Right? Like I talk about the body stuff as like, what's it called? Do it. I could do it. Arthur's King Arthur's circle, right? He's got the circle of kings. He's a king of kings. Like that's how I operate in my world. It's like, oh, what's my liver saying? What's my kidneys saying? Because my liver and kidneys are talking all the time because I'm dealing with unwellness. Whatever all these parts of me saying. Because have we had this conversation? Like I came into this practice being like, I'm crazy because I have like a million things in here. Like there's so many voices, there's so many perspectives, endless perspectives. Um,
yeah. That part I knew, but not like I don't know that I ever quite understood. There was so much about the different aspects of your body that you were hearing from.
Yeah, so that's, like, deeper, but you could just have, like, what's the physical perspective and what's the spiritual
Yeah.
perspective, right? And you could just look, okay, well, the body wants this, spirit says that, okay, what's the important thing here? Go. And that's not what my teacher would say. My teacher's just like, spiritual perspective trumps everything, it's the most important. And I understand that. But sometimes, part of this practice is discernment, and part of this practice is clearing, 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 clearing the programming and the identity pushes and the lies, the endless lies and the agreements to do this and not see that. And there's just all this stuff and all the brokenness. It takes a minute healing, right? So it's like, okay. And then my mind gets in on the act sometimes because reading is subtle. It's very subtle. Like the way that it gets translated into the shared world is you have to be quiet. It has to be physically quiet. I don't agree with that at all. It's not about quiet. It's about subtle. So some people can perceive better if there's more quiet. It's not about the quiet. It's about the subtle. And so for me, like I never had that. Like, I used to drive down the road and listen to music, and then when Spirit wanted to talk, said, "Turn off the radio." And I turned off the radio, and I talked to Spirit, right? I don't need to be quiet the whole fucking time, right? It's just like, well, it's hard to hear 2 voices, so I'll turn down the radio, and I'll talk to you about this and that, and then I'll think about it for a long time and integrate it, and da 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 da, this is before I had the tools, right? And then and it's just like eventually there's enough quiet and I turn back on the radio, right? There's nothing wrong with the radio. It's just that if I can't hear or don't know what it means, there's this funny story about Elijah and Elisha, and how Elisha kept hearing the word of God break him up, and he thought it was Elijah. Do you know this one?
Yes,
Right?
I do. I do
And
know this one.
eventually Elijah's like, "Will you stop waking me up?" And Elisha, that's God. Just go listen to God, will you? Right? It's just like, but he didn't know. He didn't know, oh, that's the voice of God, not the voice of my master Elijah. Um, so it's a very important distinction because people like worship silence. It's like, okay, right? They make an idol out of it. Like, we'll make an idol out of everything. Anything, give us half a chance, right? So sure, silence is great, but it's not the point. The point is, am I noticing the oneness? Or am I blessed in the bliss? Or am I hearing the thing that I need to hear? That's what's important, I think. What do you say?
Well, it's funny because I balked a little bit at the idea of making an idol out of silence, um, and, which is, very on character for me,
Yeah.
um, but I think what I would suggest is, and I don't know that I've ever really processed it quite this way before, sometimes I think we think somebody else is doing idolatry because maybe we don't entirely understand what they're at. Like I would be ready, like I would be endorse the statement, I am worshiping the silence right now, but I would mean that as a way of saying there's things I can't speak of, and that is what I am worshiping. So like if I were to get lost in the idea of literalistically worshiping the absence of noise, like that would for sure be an idol. Um, but yeah, I mean nothing the yeah, I don't know. I guess that's what I'm thinking about
Mhm, mhm.
just that.
Yeah, I don't mean it as judgment. I mean it as mistaking the finger for the moon.
Yes.
That's what I mean. And getting all excited about the finger.
Yeah.
And it's not the finger that's the issue.
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, I don't mean to be like competitive
Yeah, and I
time.
like, it's funny how defensive I felt about that, like, there
Well,
like,
it's a thing in the space.
yeah,
That's why I'm pointing to it. It's a
yeah,
like, well, you have to have the silence, and I'm just like,
yeah,
"Okay," but the thing that we get so confused about spiritual stuff, I swear to God, it's like
yeah,
constant, constant. It's like the silence that is important is in here.
yes,
I tell my friends who, like, just have babies, "Come with your baby to the meditation.
yeah,
Shut off the thing. We can't hear you baby cry or not cry. You know, nurse your baby, do the stuff with us, enjoy the energy." Who gives a shit,
right,
right? Like, and then my other friend is like, "Oh god, I sat all day doing, client work on the computer. I just don't wanna sit through this meditation. I'm not coming." I'm like, "Come, shut off your computer and do the mother rock while dance
yeah,
around your room while you do your energy. I don't fucking care. It's not about the outside.
yes,
It doesn't matter. It's about the inside. The inside is where the what's that thing is? The prayer closet is.
yeah,
It's on the inside. We don't have to get in an actual closet, but we are so thrown to concretize everything.
yes, for
Yes.
sure,
So, okay, here we go. So there's some shifts that I thought to myself, what are some shifts that everybody's like, this is great thing. This is a great thing, right? Win the lottery, birth of a baby, marriage, right? Hopefully these are unequivocally wonderful things. Hopefully, right? But still there's a cost. And we know this. We know it, but we don't like to know it. So like there's how could there be a well, you know, I mean, you have kids, you know, "Oh my god, the baby's born. Just give me a few minutes on the baby's born. It's wonderful, we know." And then what?
it's miserable for the next, like, 3 years. Eventually, they develop a personality, and it becomes interesting again, but it's
Yes. There's shit and poop and waking up at all hours
yes,
and, crying. Yeah, and it's wonderful, and they're adorable. Adorable, right? You're, like, besotted and also like, "Oh my god, when am I gonna get enough sleep?" Right?
yeah,
Yeah, right? It's
yes,
just everyone
absolutely,
knows this. Anybody who's paying attention at all knows this, right? Same with thing with marriage. It's like, it's wonderful, and all my
it's horrible.
systems change, all my how my
Yeah,
relationships change, all my everything shifts, and it keeps shifting. And then the lottery, if I can't have that money, it's a show, right? It's a show.
yeah,
It's like there's all this I wanted to look it up to but what I've heard is that a certain percentage of the people who make
yes,
the lot and then it's gone in like a year because they can't have it. They don't have the
yes,
systems. They don't have the identity. They don't have the boundaries. They don't have the discipline. It's so you know it's usually like, well, I can't afford it. Well, if you can't say that, what can you say? So, anyway,
yeah,
it's there's this huge losses about even the best stuff. Friends, community, time, energy, money, sleep, on and on and on and on. Interesting and sometimes really unexpected ways our life changes when great things happen.
yes,
And also, we limit our choices, and that some roads are just not available to us anymore, and our life narrows. And that I'm not saying it's bad or good, but it's a loss. And some people, whatever the thing is that they're getting, some people will notice a lot or a little these losses sooner or later. Some people notice decades
yeah,
later. Oh my God, look what I lost in this relationship. Look what I squandered. Look what I gave away. Look what I gave my whole youth or whatever. Um, and so it all depends on the person and the circumstances, but there is loss and it helps to notice it, I think. Anything on you
Yeah.
want to say?
This is like another like big I could talk for hours and hours about this. Um s- I think that it really started with some work I was doing with you individually that I was able to take to therapy and roll it over in that kind of context. And I came to this really profound for me understanding that for most of my life, I'd had a number of goals, and I achieved an extraordinary number of them right in the middle of the COVID shutdown for the world. So one thing is it was hard to be like as it continues to be a person at that time. But like I'm just realizing now that I've been in this malaise for like 2 years. And it's connected a lot to the fact that um several major things that had been huge in my life, I managed. Um, I, for my whole life, had identified myself as a writer, and I was published by somebody other than me during that time. And I had spent my cat is here to say hello to everybody.
Hi, cat.
Um, this is Phineas. Um, uh,
Phineas.
um, but, um, we had had a lot of family turbulence in the prior decade or so, and that all settled down right at the same time. And I had spent 25 years as a special education teacher and was comfortable enough in that role that I wouldn't say there was nothing left for me, but there were so few things I haven't seen in a quarter century in that field. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I, uh, was I wanna say I hit my mastery within the classroom. I'm now an administrator, so I've got something else, but, these really major, long-term, across half my life kind of goals, I realized that for the last 2 years, it's been like, well, it didn't even occur to me to set a new goal, so I'm just gonna keep repeating all of those in one
Mm-hmm.
form or another, and there's nothing new and exciting about that. Thank you, Phineas. And so, as we're talking through this, um, that's yeah, and we think about the the shifts, and we think about the difficulty of achieving our dreams. I realize how incredibly privileged it is to say this, like achieving a bunch of them and not slowing down enough to recognize all that is a whole different challenge, but is also a big thing.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. There's some kind of Just some kind of saying about that, about watch out for getting what you want.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you big doofus. Come on, buddy.
um, okay. So the next part here is this is the precipitating factor we're getting to finally. Um, so usually in the soul journey, in the spiritual realm, like whatever you want to call it, the focus is on the gain. Like, for those who are even thinking in this direction, like, a lot of Christianity isn't even thinking. They're not thinking about, teleos. They're not thinking about, maturity, even though it's spoken of lots of times in the Christian Bible. There's not a focus on that. Um, but for others within Christianity and outside it, there's a lot, they're devoting their spiritual work toward whatever you wanna say, light, expansion, development, breaking through, whatever. Um, and so I just wanted to, like, say some of the things that is like, yay, right? Like, these are yay things, that are focused on, so we invest in our soul journey, we invest in our spiritual development, and we experience enlightenment, or we experience our dreams coming true, or experience we learn new tricks and turn the corner. Like Jesus was like, well, God's here, turn around. We turn around, God's here. you know we we find what we're looking for. We actually realize and are realizing into our soul body life world that we're light, that we're love, that we're truth, all that. Maybe we grok more clearly. We can perceive below the surface of things more. Um, we finally get free, get through the dark night of the soul. We um, we perceive, choose, and act in new ways, expanded consciousness. We expand consciousness. We see more spiritual perspective. We savor the sacred and the wholeness and the freedom and understanding the game more. Um, we no longer believe so many ridiculous things with our consciousness. We let go of the intellectual beliefs and um and just be with our experience. We're experiencing the oneness with awe, and that aching loneliness that we might have experienced passes away, or we're less hungry within because we're fulfilled in the deliciousness of divine experience. So these are the kinds of things, right, that people talk about. I just listed some that are, you know, real in my world. And this is like unequivocally wonderful things. It's not like it's bad, but this is what people focus on. But getting here and living in these places that we've talked about and all there's other stuff, there's a cost. And it's rarely referenced. So I'm taking the same conversation we've had this whole time about all of life, and now I'm talking about specifically the spiritual journey, the soul journey, and saying the same is true. And it's almost never talked about. I talk about it, but nobody cares. But I don't hear it in the world. Not nearly. I don't hear it in the world. And I think it's important for people to understand. So what are you noticing?
Um, a lot. But like maybe the biggest thing is um it comes back to I think a little bit of the conversation before of um you know, we can like it's that dualistic way of looking at things, I guess. We can recognize that in the same way we can recognize that it was hard and there was real loss when we came in to this space, and this space is amazing. Similarly, I can say this space is amazing, but there's things I miss. God, are there things I miss about the spaces I was in before?
Yeah.
Um, and I think it took me probably about 5 years to be even able to admit that is maybe part of the reason nobody's talking about it very much. Because I certainly wasn't ready to admit that I had to like it had to be for it was so hard, it had to be a win-win. There had to be no negatives to
Uh,
this new universe I was living in, I think.
mhm.
And only now can I say, I actually do miss that part and this part of it. And I've
Yes.
had some trouble finding those particular things in the like post deconstructed world.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out where to stop here. You have a hard stop at 4:30?
If it's 4:35, that's fine, but I shouldn't. I shouldn't go
Okay.
and I shouldn't go another hour for
Okay.
sure.
Um, yeah, so what it takes to get to the new place is talked about some. It really is, and it's more obvious, right? It's just like if I'm gonna join a monastery or something, I'm giving up the life in the world. That's known. That's talked about. Um, it's talked about a lot about giving up. We just were living through Lent. There's a lot of giving up, stuff. That's just whatever. But the giving up, the letting go that actually really leverages, that's that's talked about some, so but what I really wanna focus on is, like, having made the turn, that just like both sides of the coin of everything else, that getting to these extraordinary places has a human cost of being there. Um, and these shifts, these 'cause part of it is that these shifts are not just a thought or a belief or an idea. These changes ripple through everything and every part of ourselves and our lives and our world and our energy. And I don't think people are thinking about that very much. It's like we were talking with the lottery, like to be someone that has money, I have to be someone who has money, or else I'm not someone who has money for very long. So if I come into I don't know what enlightenment is, so I can't talk about it, but I can talk about some of the things that I know. If I come into just fulfilled in ways that I've always been hungry and wanting and searching and lonely and, they talk about the God-shaped hole in Christianity in the old days, I don't know about now. Um, when that is not there, shifts me every way, but it shifts example is about my relationships. Like, I needed it, I needed attention, I needed to give and receive, I needed to please, I needed to be giving twice as much as I was getting to be sure that I was right, and now I'm just like, fine, not hungry, right? And it changes how much I pick up the phone, or it's like I'm still a great friend. It's like I'm not a great friend to my friends, but it definitely makes me I'm not compelled, and I was. I'm much more open to, like, what is spirit really leading me to do in this time, instead of before, it's just like, I need to hop on top, I need to I need to, like
Yes.
so, it's huge. Anything to say before I go on?
We're just such funny creatures because when I have to put on that show for those people in my life, that's not love. Like, I'm not doing that because 'cause I'm into the person. I'm
Yeah,
doing that to maintain the stories I tell myself about myself
yeah,
or the stories I tell myself about them. But it's about, like, keeping my picture of reality, where it is. It's not because I'm super into them.
yeah, yeah, I talk about this a lot in the Being the Love You Want work. It's like the amount that I was using people throughout my life when I
Mhm.
thought I was loving them is
Yeah.
really uncomfortable. Um, yeah. So, I'm just skipping. I'm gonna head toward close because it's time, and because because it's time, and because I mean, I have a lot more here, but but we've gone to I mean, I just wanna wrap it up and say that the reason I wanted to have this conversation is because I don't feel like people are talking about this, and I think it's a very important thing to know and understand. Um, I wonder it's being purposely hidden. You were saying maybe you don't even realize it until X time down the road, or don't know how to grok it or something. Maybe there's some spiritual bypassing going on.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some image management going on. Well, I'm full of light, baby, now,
Yes.
and nothing is wrong. I've made it to the mountaintop, and there's nothing. All is well. It's like, good for you. That's not my experience, and I'm not
Yeah.
saying I it's not worth it, and I'm not saying I'm not grateful, and I'm not saying I wouldn't do it again. I'm saying there's loss, and that means grief. That means letting go. That means choosing to release the suffering.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna let it go at that. Final things for you?
No, I don't think so. This has been a really stimulating conversation, though.
Really? You like it?
Yeah, yeah, I do.
Okay, so next time we'll finish this.
Great.
And thank you so much, Jeff. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Be well, friend.
Okay. Bye-bye.